Okay, boys, draft is over. I don't know when this is getting put out. I am recording this August 29th, which is a Monday. I have no idea when this will be out. I'm going to do two different parts. I think I usually do it. I'm going to do everybody's team roster construction. How do I think it panned out after the draft? And I'm also going to do round by round my favorite picks in that specific round. Hate to admit it, there is going to be a lot of bias in there. There's going to be my favorite picks and my least favorite picks. I'm going based off of my gut feeling, how I had people ranked, which is a lot different than certain cheat sheets and whatnot. Also, okay, nobody pays attention to the Yahoo draft report cards. They base their report cards based on where you were picking. Look, I didn't care about pick order, so I put myself down. I did my team first. So they're assuming that I had the first pick of the draft. Now, obviously, they're reading it as DeAndre Swift first overall, which is why I got a D plus. So if you are wondering why you got such a great grade, some of you I probably input your team last or on the pick order. So hold on, I'm actually going to scroll through it for you guys right now. I'm going to go by round. So the way the draft read it as was Nick would have the first pick, then B Magic, then Paul, then Allen, then Coffee, then Johnny, then David Krier, then Harsh, then Alex, then Andre, then Patrick, and then David Sutton. Now I didn't even look, but that would mean that McCaffrey, Henry, and Cooper Kupp were the last three picks of the draft, which means that they are probably going to get very high draft grades. So if you're wondering why, don't get discouraged. I mean, some of you might have deserved a low grade, but if you're wondering why some are higher than others, that's the reason. And we all know, too, that Yahoo likes to put emphasis on if you have an elite quarterback or an elite tight end. But I'm going to give you the real report card because it is in the correct draft order. I will see you then. The man who had the first pick of the draft, Mr. Paul Percall. Now, Paul, I am not going round by round. That is the next part of the podcast. I'm going based off of roster construction. Do I think the roster is constructed very well? Do I think we have some floor mixed in with some upside? And then what are my things I like about the team versus concerns? That's the way I'm going to play this out. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into Paul's team. I'm going to go with the starting roster first. Tom Brady at quarterback, a good value. Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen are your starting receivers. Your running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, followed by Travis Kelce at the tight end spot. And your flexes, Terry McLaurin and Drake London. Now, I know I said this is not going to be where you took them at what round, this, that, the other is more construction, but I will hit some of those points. I think as far as value was concerned, Travis Kelce and Terry McLaurin, I think you literally sucked up and absorbed all the value that came to you. I think this was tremendous to get both Kelce and Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin was inside my top 15 for wide receivers, and I believe you took him in the 5th round, which was fantastic. Travis Kelce should have gone very, very early. I think the age is why people are off him. And me personally, Paul, I have Kyle Pitts as the tight end 1 this year, but I hate tight ends. But look, that's your guy. I get it. The way your roster was constructed, you went with, I don't like the term hero RB, anchor RB. It's like these idiots in the fantasy world just discovered this. I was doing this a long time ago. You take one elite running back and you hammer pass catchers, and then you look to get running backs. And honestly, I think you did the right thing where you were being drafted. I think Once Javonte Williams and Aaron Jones went off the board, uh, actually Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette belongs in that category as well. I don't think it was worth taking any running backs. You would just kind of have to wait it out because a lot of them have question marks. Well, let's see. Debo Samuel and Keenan Allen, do they complement each other well? Do they complement each other very well? I'm going to have to say absolutely that they do. Debo Samuel, I don't know what his role is going to be. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't look into the contract. So this is something you're going to have to do because I knew I wasn't getting Debo Samuel this year. I said I'm not touching him with my pick. He's going to be gone. But I think there's something in the contract that states about him getting a bonus if he takes carries out of the backfield. If he is getting the same treatment he got last year, I think the sky's the limit yet again for Debo Samuel. I do have concerns about his health because he did stay healthy all of last season. I think the other concern here is if he's not being used as a running back, Trey Lance is probably going to run in a lot of rushing touchdowns. So I don't know how efficient he's going. I mean, he was an absolute cheat code, and I think Harsh got him in the 6th or 7th round last year, which was like tremendous value. But with a guy with explosion like Debo, you need some floor to go with it, and that's Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, the last few years, his numbers, if one of the fantasy analysts, Matt Harmon, does reception perception, he has gone down in the percentile. His routes per target run have gone down. I think he's just going to be used as an intermediate guy. I think Mike Williams, Josh Palmer are going to have to take the top off of the defense. But this is a guy who's going to flirt with 100 catches yet again. He is a safe option. I don't think there's any upside here, though, anymore because other thing that I have mentioned about Keenan Allen, I said this 2 years ago. I argued with a guy on fantasy. Keenan Allen is not as efficient when Austin Eckler is in the lineup. Why? Is because Eckler takes a lot of dump offs when Herbert's first read isn't there. When Keenan Allen went off, it's usually when Eckler's not in the lineup. So that's why, I mean, there's a little bit of red flags, but that's more so for his upside, not his floor. I think he's a floor pick. The running back combo, Jonathan Taylor, you can make an argument he should have been the first pick of the draft. Kareem Hunt makes me a little bit nervous because he wants out of Cleveland. I don't know where he's going to go. Chances are, I think Atlanta does not have a good backfield. After the Brian Robinson news, I think he could get moved into the Commanders' offense. I just don't see him staying in Cleveland. If he was definitely staying in Cleveland, I like this pick a lot. I think they're going to be trailing from behind. I think Nick Chubb is an awful pick this year, and it's only because I think that they have to deal with Jacoby Brissett. They're going to be behind a lot, and they're going to be playing a lot of catch up. So if Kareem Hunt stays in Cleveland, I think this is a great pick. If he gets moved somewhere else, I think it's a big wild card. Travis Kelce, look, he's your boy. I get it. Terry McLaurin and Drake London. I think Drake London, I had wide receiver 33. I had him right behind, I think, Christian Kirk and Kadarius Toney in my rankings. I do like Drake London, and I think the upside is definitely there for him to ascend. My biggest concern, though, with a guy like Drake London is they already have Kyle Pitts and they have Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ritter throwing the ball. The question is, how do both get close to 1,000 yards? It's going to be very tough for that to happen. The only way I envision seeing, which could very well happen, is that this Falcons team is absolute trash and they are in shootout after shootout after shootout, which definitely could happen. If I'm betting which one hits over 1,000, it's definitely Kyle Pitts. Not anything against Drake London. I like the prospect ability, and I like him as your flex option. Now, the starters, what do I give this starting lineup? Me personally, the Kelce thing is a big factor. If there was no elite tight end, I think this is a little bit shaky, but we do have an elite tight end. We have a top 10 quarterback. We have a receiver who finished in the top 5 last year. We got some good floory guys mixed in here as well. I'm actually going to give this just a solid B. What I mean by that is I think that aside from tight end, quarterback, and the starting running back, I think it's guaranteed A's at those positions. Everything else I think is very not questionable in a bad way. I just don't know if their upside's going to reach it, but maybe I lean a B plus now that I'm talking about this. There's nothing wrong with the starting roster. If anything, I think the only thing that's going to be tinkered with in this lineup moving forward is maybe aren't running back 2 because we don't know about Kareem Hunt's situation in the last flex. That's a maybe, though. I'm not going out saying, "Hey, that's what's gonna happen." Benches. Melvin Gordon, I think the only way this guy has value is if Javonte Williams goes down. I'm a big Javonte Williams believer. I know a lot of people think it's going to be a split, but I think once they realize who the better running back is and who the younger running back is, it's going to be Javonte Williams, and I think Melvin Gordon is only there to spell him. If Javonte Williams goes down, Melvin Gordon is a great plug-and-play guy. Naheem Hines, look, you had this guy last year. Every freaking year, we get a report around July and August that Frank Wright comes out. We need to get him more involved. I've heard the same sob story over and over and over again. When are we going to realize that he is not a starting running back in the NFL? He's a great third down option. He is a great mismatch against linebackers, this, that, and the other. But I am not going out of my way to say that this is a great pick. I'm sorry. I've heard this every single year. They want to get him involved. It does not happen. Now, if you are buying in Naheem Hines, the only thing that I could say is that the Colts were up in a lot of games last year despite missing the playoffs, which is kind of weird. And that they ran Jonathan Taylor into the ground. But even the games where they were trailing, man, like Naheem Hines they didn't throw to him. Now, here's the other if, though. That's with Carson Wentz. If you watch Carson Wentz, the dude refuses to take a check down when it's there. The kid wants to hit a home run every freaking play. He's a stubborn quarterback, which is why he looks really bad. If Carson Wentz actually took check downs, I think Naheem Hines may have been a decent option. Now you have check down Charlie and Matt Ryan, who's not mobile. So there are two things working against him. Are the Colts going to be up in every game? No. Is Matt Ryan going to check down? The answer is yes. My only concern, though, is they might fall too much in love with Jonathan Taylor. But the fact of the matter is this. It is a wash for you because you're only banking it if Jonathan Taylor goes hurt. You're never putting Naheem Hines in the starting lineup. I get it. So in that case, that's fine with what you did. But for the hype around this guy, like, give me a break. We've done this 5 years in a row with this idiot. He's not an idiot. I'm just saying, like, every year, it's always around July, August. That's why Johnny bought into him 2 years ago, and I told him, yeah, miss me with that. Last year, same thing happened again, and look, he has not had an expanded role. I think everybody looks and they want him to be the Darren Sproles, but he's not getting that type of workload. Next guy, Isaiah Spiller. He's hurt at the moment. Josh Kelly has actually looked decent in the preseason. I think you might wind up cutting this guy very soon. MVS, believe it or not, I was not an MVS guy until I started seeing how their rotation is going in the Chiefs offense. Sky Moore has yet to develop with the ones, and I think Juju and MVS have won the starting gigs, and McCole Harmon keeps his same role. So with that being said, I like this pick a lot, but here's the thing, and I'm going to flat out say it, and it's weird because you also have Travis Kelce. A guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's a one-trick pony. He's going to go deep. He's going to catch a bomb. That's it. The issue I have with this guy is you can't sell him because everybody knows what he does. You're forced to start him in your lineup every week because you don't want to play a guessing game with deep threats. I've said this time and time again. Deep threats are only good. There are only two ways you draft a deep threat wide receiver. And I'm going to use the boomer joke at David Sutton, and I will. It's if A, you have, four Flory-esque running backs that your receivers are deep threats, and it's like, well, I know my running backs are going to get there. I'm just going to flip a coin and hope he catches a touchdown, because if that happens, you probably won your week. The other way I think you start or draft a guy like an MVS is if you have his quarterback. The way you have to stack quarterback to receiver, you do not stack a quarterback with your possession guy. You stack the quarterback with the deep threat. Example, Patrick Mahomes stacked with MVS is incredible. Why do I say that? Well, Patrick Mahomes is going to average around 3 touchdowns a game. And let's say one of them does not go to MVS. Well, guess what? Patrick Mahomes can cover you on that deep threat that didn't do jack shit. But if that does hit, that 28 points is now getting rounded up to 40. Like there is no better feeling in the world than a quarterback stack hitting for a bomb for a touchdown. So MVS, the only way I see this guy you either A, have to start him every week, or you're just going to be frustrated with him on your bench, or you need to go and sell him to the Pat Mahomes owner. If I'm Rob Coffey, I'd be knocking at the door for MVS. Uh, Mark Ingram too. I actually like this pick a lot. I love it even more with the uncertainty between Alvin Kamara. I have no idea if he's going to get suspended or not. KJ Hamler. I'm a big KJ Hamler guy. I If he's healthy, I think he's a lot better than Jerry Jeudy, especially for what Russell Wilson wants to do. Jerry Jeudy can run routes, but he's like an Amari Cooper. If you press him, he's not going to do. He's afraid of contact. KJ Hamler, not afraid of contact. Love the KJ Hamler pick if he is 100%. Robbie Anderson, you can cut right now. I'm flat out just going to say it. The man looks mentally checked out. I mean, he was awful last year. I can't believe people are still putting this guy on their ranking sheets. He is buns. Honestly, like, it's funny, but the Panthers should definitely trade for Denzel Mims. I'd rather start Denzel Mims at this point in his career than Robbie Anderson, because literally they don't have anybody. It's Hollywood Higgins. DJ Moore's good, obviously, but I mean, come on. And yes, favorite pick of the draft. You know what, dude? I hate you with a passion. There was one pick I said to myself, I need to get, and I know nobody's going to be on it, and it's the Saints D. I don't know what the hell you read into at all, but they were the second or third defense off the board, and they were ranked only 7th on Yahoo. And I said to myself, nobody's going to be on this. You have the number 1 defense. I know I did a drunk bet, $100. I'm very, 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 very confident they will finish number 1 this year. Bringing in the Honey Badger when you already have a physical defense, dude, they are playing in a dome where it's loud. Sign me up, Saints D number 1 defense. Well, with that being said, things I like a lot about your team. I know I'm going on a rant, but I am trying to be, you know, as detailed as I can because I don't want to sell anybody short. There's a lot of crap I like about this team. A lot. I love the Saints D. I'm sorry. I know it's weird. No, I am very big on the Saints D. I'm big to the point. I don't know if you remember. Okay, I'm trying to think of our year. 2019. Okay, 2019. Allen's team was horrible, but the New England defense for the first half of the year was getting him 27 points a week. I am that high on this New Orleans Saints D. Look, I'm just telling you right now, like, if you ever get desperate where you think nobody's going to buy for a defense, come knocking at my door because I am very big on the Saints D. Very, very, very big on it. It's nothing against your other picks. I like a lot of the picks that you made, but this is easily my favorite pick. Look, defense wins championships, and I think this defense, like, I think they're going to have a floor of 13 points a week, a floor with an upside of even more. I am very big, and I know I sound like a broken record. That was my number 1 ranked defense. I didn't even make a defensive cheat sheet because I knew going into it I was going to get it. And you somehow, for whatever reason, decided to go New Orleans Saints D. I don't know if you made your own cheat sheet or if you got any intel from somebody else, but great freaking pick, and I hate you for it. As far as everything else, Brady's going to be, Tom Brady. The only thing I would have done differently if you could have, because I honestly thought if you went Pat Mahomes and you stacked it with Kelsey and MVS, I think I would have loved this team even more, to be honest. I think that's the only thing. Just because, like Paul, like a guy like MVS, like, oh, you have to start him because you're just going to say to yourself, oh, this is going to be the week. You cannot play the guessing game with deep threat receivers. If you draft a deep threat guy, a one-trick pony, you're saying to yourself, hey, like, I'm either viewing him as I got to start him every week or this is injury-filled guy. But, like, it's so bad getting that temptation when he goes off for 28 points on your bench. You put him in next week and he doesn't do anything. They are the devil, right? Right. It's hard with temptation. Well, Paul, I would give you a solid B. I just think that some of the things. It is interesting though because you don't have a. You usually do Kansas City staff most of the time. Uh, if there is one guy, your upside picks, MVS, I think it has a lot of upside in this offense. It's hard for me to say Naheem Hines has upside when you have Taylor. Uh, the only guys that I think might be bust, like your busts that could potentially bust. Kareem Hunt, just because I don't know what's going on there, and Drake London, and I like Drake London a lot, but I don't know how much targets he's going to get on a weekly basis. But my favorite picks, I mean, that you made, Travis Kelsey and the Saints D. And like I think those are game changer picks. So Paul, I'm gonna give you a solid B, and I will definitely be shocked if the Saints D doesn't finish number one this year. All right. The number two pick of the draft, the man who came late, Mr. Allen Williams. Before I get into this, man, I am going to be calm minded when I go through this, number one. And number two, okay, I'm still convinced the Cousins played a joke on us. The Cousins played a joke on us. Because if I went in blindfolded and it didn't tell me the name of this team, I would have definitely I would have bet the mortgage that's an Andre Jones team. I would have looked at Andre Jones's team. I would have bet the mortgage and said this is easily Allen's team. I don't know what kind of cruel joke you played on the league, both of you, uh, Cousins, but it's not funny. Like it's really, really not funny because I think one of you had easily the best draft by far. As far as the other one is concerned, I am not feeling this team at all. But I think I know what's going on here. For years and years and years and years and years and years, you've been a zero RB savant. And you've also done the anchor RB strategy like you did last year. What I mean by that is get me at least one starting running back, let me hammer receivers, and then lottery ticket, lottery ticket, lottery ticket. And honestly, I think that's the way I thought you were going to go yet again. And out of nowhere, you go robust RB with Jamar Chase. I get it. The definition of insanity, Allen, is trying to do something over and over and over the same time and expecting a different result. So, from that standpoint, maybe it felt like you really needed a change of heart here. Okay, fine. But this is not the way to do it, dude. I don't know what happened, but you've got a lot of guys you reached for that aren't even worth reaching for in my eyes. Jamar Chase, I don't even have a problem with that pick. Look, if you think he could be the next Randy Moss, by all means, go for him. But your starting roster right now is Aaron Rodgers, Jamar Chase, Josh Palmer, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Chris Olave, and Brees Hall. You've got a lot of guys that are either in timeshares. These Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery, no joke, no cap to you, Allen. Right now, David Montgomery was my RB 31. Josh Jacobs was my RB 28. I'm not big on these guys. Josh Jacobs, I think, yes. I think when Kenyon Drake did get cut, I do think that the hate has gone a little too far, but I would have not touched him. The sixth round is when I would have considered him. I do think that he is going to get the starting gig. They're going to run him into the ground, and if it happens, it happens. David Montgomery, I think, is Josh Jacobs light. He is Josh Jacobs on a crappier team, doesn't have a good offensive line, and is probably not going to get a lot of catches since Justin Fields is a mobile quarterback. Like I am not big on this pick. Allen. I'm trying to find a positive here. Let me. You know what? I don't want to sour down. Let me look at some of the picks that you did make. But construction rise, you're starting Josh Palmer already as your wide receiver too. Nah. Chris Olave, I do eventually think he is going to be the one Saints receiver by season end who's going to have the most fantasy points. I'm giving you some positive praise here. Michael Thomas is not going to stay healthy. I'm done with that guy. Been done with him 3 years ago, to be honest. If you're telling me a guy hasn't played football in 2 years is going to come back at the age of, is he 29 or 30? I don't know. And he's already got a hamstring issue. Yeah, sign me up for Chris Olave. That was my favorite pick that you made. Breece Hall, bro, no cap. I think you could have waited to the 4th round to get him, but you really like the prospect of Breece Hall. I like the prospect of Breece Hall, but the 2nd freaking round, way too early. Devonta Smith's got some upside. I think, though, he is now in the realm of deep threat, one-trick pony guy. I told you in the car, I watched his Alabama highlights. It's literally go route after go route after go. Like, he's just burning by people. You can't do that all the time in the National Football League. The fact that A.J. Brown coming over kind of solidifies we don't trust you as a number 1 wide receiver, but for what you do very well, you're going to get dialed up. I know Smith had a lot of games where he soaked up a lot of targets. Unless they're in a massive shootout, I do not see Devonta Smith averaging more than 5, 6 targets a game. Garrett Wilson, I think, has an easy path to overtake Corey Davis, but like you need starters. I think your bench has like a lot of what if scenarios here. Kenneth Walker was a terrible pick. I think that is my least favorite pick. He's already got a sports hernia injury. The path to him doing well, Allen, is I get it. Rashad Penny's probably going to play 2 games all year. That's fine. But then you're talking about a running back who doesn't catch passes, who is on one of the worst offenses in the National Football League. Missed me with that. Dude, you could have gotten Kenneth Walker in the 9th round. Like, no cap. You can go and text people. Like, I don't know if you're built like this is a good dynasty team. I'm not like flat out hating on that aspect of it. Sky Moore is another what if. Like he ran with the 2s. If there is one guy I think he can overtake, it's probably McCole Hardman, but that's a big if. Tyler Algier didn't want anything to do with him at all. He was not on my radar. Michael Carter, now you're just betting against yourself with Breece Hall, or you're trying to get that insurance. I don't think Michael Carter is league winner material. I think Michael Carter is like a pass catching specialist. Amir Abdullah is interesting. And I know this is the one guy you didn't expect me to do a take on, but when they cut Kenyon Drake, that solidified him as the pass catching role, but they still have Brandon Bolden. Brandon Bolden, I think, is the backup to Amir Abdullah in that role. I think Zamir Wright is the backup to Josh Jacobs in that role. Amir Abdullah is interesting because last year he led all running backs in 3rd down conversions with catches. I know it's a weird stat, but I'm going to throw it out there. Second thing I want to throw out, I don't know their depth chart. I don't know their roster. But if you're telling me this guy is on 3rd downs and on kick returns like he was in Carolina, and he's on an offense that can actually move the ball, this is a sneaky good guy. I know a lot of people are not going to be on it. I hate to say it. I think the sneakiest pick you made was Amir Abdullah. But I don't know if you did that as a cuff or if you like the role. If you did it for the role, kudos to you. If you think he's coming in there to get an expanded look when Josh Jacobs goes out, it's not happening. That's going to Zamir White, which the other cousin has. Pierre Strong Jr., I'm missing with that too. And you have Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be fine at your quarterback position. Look, I'm going to flat out say it. Just going to say it right now, man. I do not like this team. It probably goes down as a team I don't like. Now, if this is really Andre taking over Allen's body, like I think it is, I hated Andre's draft last year. Andre's team put up a fight and then it got hurt. This looks like Andre drafted this team. I think you guys pulled some sick joke on us, and I want I want the old Allen back. I want the old Allen. I was a big fan of the Allen Williams drafts. You listen to my podcast. What is this, dude? Like, Montgomery, I just like you're getting 8. Like, I feel like the problem with David Montgomery is he can get 20 carries a game and it might only accumulate to 8 points, which is like, Amir Abdullah could do that on less like work. Allen, I'll talk about some of my favorite picks and my least favorite picks. My least favorite picks, the guys that aren't going to work out. Kenneth Walker, I would have loved if you got him in the 9th, but you took him in the 4th round. No, thank you. Chris Olave, I'm a big fan of. And I think Amir Abdullah is a decent pick as well. But everything else, man, you're banking on a lot to happen in situations that are very murky. I get the philosophy where you went here, Alan. You said Jamar Chase is going to be the wide receiver 1. I am just going to hammer running backs. I think you hammered the wrong ones. When we go back and do a double take on the draft, your pick that came around, I know you went Breece Hall. I probably, if you were set on running backs, let me. I just think you should have faded running back and do what you did all the time, man, and just hammer receiver. I would have just hammered receiver straight up. Allen, I am not very big on this team, buddy. I'm giving it to you straight though. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I really do not like this team. All right, Mr. Coffee, you had the third pick of the draft. Loving the team name, bro. Freaking awesome. One thing that I'm noticing in a lot of teams, and I think this is the way you had to draft this year. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I couldn't pass that up because I felt like a lot of people would have done this. I think the anchor RB was the way to go this year. It was something I wanted to do at the back end, but I pulled away from it because I saw that running backs were going heavy, and I thought that that trend was going to let the receivers fall to me, which I think it did for the most part. But I do think that this is the most optimal strategy to kind of do in your leagues is get your anchor RB and just hit a bunch of lottery tickets at the second art running back spot. The only thing that does suck with this strategy is if you have that starting running back go down, it is very hard to come back from it. But regardless, let's take a look at how the roster is constructed. By the way, have you seen that Matthew Berry guy with the Chinese Australian dude? Guy leaves me shook. Anyway, Patrick Mahomes, fantastic value. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Travis Etienne, Jerick McKinnon at the RB2 spot, Cole Kmet, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Allen Robinson. Um, this is very similar to this is like a lesser. I'm not saying it's not. It's constructed very similar to the Paul team that I did, except Paul's got the advantage at the tight end. Let's talk about it. You have a top three quarterback. You have a top three wide receiver. And then I think everything else is a mixture of floor and upside. So I think you have both of that going for you. One thing I look at this team right off the bat, then the team that you constructed last year. Last year you did two running backs, but you forced yourself to go for Clyde Edwards-Helaire who busted, and all your receivers were all floor, no boom whatsoever, which is why you missed the playoffs. This year, that is a totally different story. Not only that, you have an elite quarterback. You flat out told me I need to get a quarterback after what happened last year, dude. I was streaming scrubs. It wasn't working out. Look, I got you, bro. Here we go, constructed wise. The receivers, Justin Jefferson and Jalen Waddle complement each other very well, but that's pretty easy to do when you have probably the guy who's going to finish as the wide receiver one this year, JJ. I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked Allen passed this up. I love Justin Jefferson. Jalen Waddle, I, I had him low in my rankings just because all those targets are going to get funneled to Tyreek Hill. I am a firm believer that Jalen Waddle, great prospect, a lot better than Devonta Smith at Alabama. I don't know who thinks otherwise. But what I'm trying to flat out tell you right now is that when I had him, Parker and Will Fuller were in and out of the lineup. So by default, he got targets out the ass. I don't think he's going to get as many targets as he did last year, but I do think he's going to be still effective. I think the passing projections, I think Tyreek Hill and him are going to get around 20% of the targets, and Chase Edmonds, I think, is going to get most of the other work, and then it's just going to be spread out to everybody else. I am shocked, to be honest with you. I am shocked you went Waddle over Cortland Sutton, but I think with the flooriness of Jalen Waddle, I think it goes well with the boomness of Justin Jefferson. Travis Etienne and Jerick McKinnon. Now, you are really banking on one of your lottery tickets to hit. Travis Etienne, I think by default, I didn't even rank James Robinson. Okay, no. I had James Robinson as like RB 58 or 60. I'm not a big James Robinson guy. Jerick McKinnon, I think, is the best bet in this backfield. Uh, Look, let's not sugarcoat it. I'll probably call you on the phone sometime. Isaiah Pacheco to me just screams out Darwin Thompson. He's not NFL ready. You saw he got demoted with the twos and was playing in the preseason. If something is to happen to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think by default they have to use Pacheco, but this guy is not a league winner by any means. Jerick McKinnon, I think, is going to get most of the valuable work in this offense. This is a pass-first offense, and when they find out that they can't run the ball with either of those other guys, Jet McKinnon is going to come back. Yo, Coffee, why do you have a fixation with guys who go by Jet? I just realized that shit. Anyway, moving down the wide receiver, or not wide receiver, the ETN and McKinnon, I think that's a combo. ETN's got upside. Jerick McKinnon's got floor. It's definitely the one hole of your team is the RB1 and the RB2. Cole Kmet, love the pick. He was the only tight end I was going to take around 10 or 11. I don't remember when you got him. He was the only guy I wanted, and then you knew, I think it was pretty obvious I was going to go Albert Okwuegbunam. Flex, St. Brown and Allen Robinson complement each other very well, and your other receivers. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, the more and more I did more research on Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I still am convinced you loved him because the dad called out Kevin Durant, which is awesome. Good for him. I do think with Goff's tendency to go over the middle of the field, I think he is going to be the Rams version of Cooper Kupp with Jared Goff. Not the insane version of Cooper Kupp, but I think a nice guy who can definitely project around 100 to 120 targets at least, I think. I don't know if that's a high number. I know Harsh doesn't like it because he reads into, he did all of that without Swift and Hawkinson. Look, but he was so good last year in the month of December that I felt like they have to feature him even more. A-Rob, I got to be honest with you, it was between him and DJ Moore, my pick, so you know I'm not fronting on this pick. I do think that he honestly, and I'm not from an outside perspective, obviously Cooper Kupp is probably his best receiver, but out of all the guys other than Calvin Johnson, Allen Robinson might be the best outside receiver that Stafford has played with. He's got a lot of touchdown upside. So I think your receivers, you've got a mixture of guys who are floor and guys that can lead their teams in touchdowns. Not to mention the fact, the thing that puts this all together is that Pat Mahomes pick. That was a brilliant pick. So your starting roster, I'm going to give it a B minus. The only reason why I'm giving it a B minus is the running back spots. ETN could potentially blow up, but you're asking a lot for ETN to be RB1. I think he's more of an RB2. This is not hating on it at all because I haven't even gotten to the bench. And this is where things look amazing. James Cook, I like Devin Singletary a lot. I think Cook is a good third down guy, but I don't see him having much of any value yet. Chris Godwin, with Kadarius Toney on the bench, that's the way you draft Rob Coffee. I like both those picks. I was not big on Chris Godwin. I don't remember what round you took him. I knew if I didn't take him in the 6th, I wasn't getting him. That's fine. Kadarius Toney has tremendous amount of upside. A lot of people compare him to a Giants version of like Tyreek Hill, dollar store Tyreek Hill. Kadarius Toney was another guy I really wanted. I went Kirk over him though. I like your bench a lot. I don't like Rashad White though. I think it's all the Leonard Fournette show. Rondell Moore, I think, is a good first half superstar. I don't know what happens when Hopkins comes back, though. Nico Collins, great upside play. Zach Moss. Zach Moss is interesting because if this becomes a three-headed monster, I think whoever had any stock in the Bills' backfield is going to lose. But, here's a big but. If Singletary goes down, I do believe Zach Moss is the early down guy. I think James Cook is only in that role that he wants to be. He doesn't look bad as a runner. San Francisco defense against the Bears week 1, baby. I like your bench a lot. I think you have a lot. I like it because I think as far as upside is concerned, so far out of the teams I did now, I only did Paul and Allen. I think your bench has an A+ potential to boom. Like straight up. So you have a mixture of a safe, floory starting roster with some upside. I like this team a lot. I do think with the amount of upside that you do have, I do think that you are going to trade for a running back somewhere down the line. And I know you're listening to this and you're probably shaking your head and agree. That was my strategy going into it. Or if I just gave you something, you can thank me for that shit. Anyway, there are a lot of guys. Like if Chris Godwin steps up and he looks healthy, you're definitely shopping either Amon-Ra St. Brown or Allen Robinson 2 or Jalen Waddle to get a running back. And there are a lot of people with good running backs. I think This team, I think if this team wants to take the next step, they're going to need some type of running back, but your bench is stacked. Like, I think it's funny because I think your flexes and your bench, people are going to come knocking at the door to get a piece of that action. I trust your management. You've done a lot of good trades in the past. And I know the trades that you've done in the past have pissed off a certain somebody, and you're probably going to piss off somebody yet again. My final draft report card for this right now is drumroll, please. I'm going to give it a B plus. As of right now, I rank that over the Allen team, which I mean that's not setting the bar very high, but I also put it over the Paul Percall team. I am going to give you a little bit of advice here, though. I did Paul's thing. You're set on Mahomes. I know you're not going to trade Pat Mahomes. And I know you're going to listen to this and you're going to shake your head no. I would definitely look to try to acquire Marquez Valdez-Scantling because if you do have to break the bank to get a running back in return, I would love to see the MVS stack with Pat Mahomes. And trust me, I think you're going to like the way things come out. All right, get your popcorn ready, get your iced coffee ready, or whatever it is that gets you excited, Mr. David Sutton. There were a lot of picks that did not surprise me at all. So before I get into the breakdown of the team, I'm going to tell you, no cap, the guys that I did predict that you were going to go with. Christian McCaffrey, I'm not taking credit. You told me that. I did predict Leonard Fournette in the second. That did happen. You traded out of the third round, which meant that your next pick was in the fourth, and I did have you go in Marquise Brown. He's what you love and a strategy, and I do think that he could be even better with Kyler Murray than he was with Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to lie to you, I was shocked Gabe Davis fell. Yes, I knew that was on your wish list, but I did think that Harsh was going to bite the bullet. And I had you going Brandon Ayuk. As far as everything else, because I only went up to 8 rounds, nothing else really surprises me. But let's get into it. The boomer drafter himself, David Sutton. By the way, I did not have you going Trey Lance. That to me screamed out Harsh, and I only knew that because when we did our dynasty draft, he reached on Trey Lance. All right. How do I feel about this team? Let's talk about it. Christian McCaffrey. Okay, we talked about this. If you say forget the injuries, forget all the BS involving Christian McCaffrey, if he plays a full season, it's not even close. He is the running back one. You just really got to keep your fingers crossed. Now, me personally, David, Foreman and Chuba Hubbard as the quote unquote handcuffs. I think after last year, I think it's going to be a committee, which means that I don't know if you're going to get value out of Foreman or whoever has Chuba Hubbard. I don't even know who it is. But that's just my take on the whole situation. I think it could definitely have potential to be something. I don't think it's going to happen. McCaffrey and Fournette, these are guys that can finish in the top 5 at their position. Leonard Fournette, like I am not on Rachaad White at all. Leonard Fournette last year, once they said to themselves, you know what, Ronald Jones sucks. We're just going to have to ride Leonard Fournette. The guy was an RB1. And one of the reasons why B Magic's team last year looked very, very scary, he was an absolute stud. I love this guy. Fournette to me was at the end. Once he went drafted, if you didn't take a running back after Leonard Fournette got drafted, I think you did a great job drafting because everybody else I think was very risky that early. I'm talking about the other guys that were ranked, and I'm not talking about handcuffs and upside guys, by the way. So the running backs, A plus. To anybody's shock over here, Marquise Brown and Gabe Davis. This is exactly what you want in your strategy. I know it's like a kid at a candy store, right? These are deep threat. These guys, when you play against them, you're sitting in your chair and you are sweating. You are not sitting comfortably. You are sweating, you are shaking, you're biting your nails. I hate going up against teams like this because they could put you in the coffin by 1 not 1 p.m. because the kickoff happens, but 1:15 p.m. Okay, let's be realized. Let's get real here, guys. But Marquise Brown and Gabe Davis. I think Marquise Brown, I still think even when Hopkins comes back, I think he outproduces him on a point per game basis. I just think what they tried to do in Arizona in the fast-paced up-tempo offense, they thought that they had it in Christian Kirk. They didn't. Christian Kirk, I think, is more suited for the slot, actually. Now they have Marquise Brown. And Gabe Davis is going to eat this year. I don't know how many catches he's going to get because I do think that Stephon Diggs, I think, is going to have a great bounce-back year. But if you told me, if you set the Gabe Davis touchdown total at 10 touchdowns, I'm taking the over. I think finally they can realize what they have. I think, I don't know what happened last year. Last year, everybody loved him last year, and then they bought in Emmanuel Sanders, and nobody wanted anything to do with Gabe Davis. This year, total different story. The guy is an absolute baller. He's hitting over 1,000 yards. He's getting 10-plus touchdowns. The catch total is 72 catches. So if you have 72 catches, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, are you going to be happy with that? I think David Sutton is going to be very happy with that. He is worth the hype. I was not taking him at my pick. The thought crossed my mind a little bit, but there were other receivers I had ranked over. I wasn't going to be a total idiot and do that, but you got him at a value. Dude, I was watching expert drafts, and this guy was going in the 3rd round. Marquise Brown, Gabe Davis to complement. You got to ask yourself, are Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette going to be good floor guys every week? Absolutely. If they do their job and one of these guys hits, look out. Tight end, Dallas Goedert, love it. Goddard is my tight end 4. I have him over Kittle. I have him over Waller. So I like that pick a lot. These other 2 guys have upside, but it's a big if. So flat out, you can ask Johnny. You live with Johnny. I absolutely hate Jerry Jeudy. If Jerry Jeudy pans out, David, I'll go up to you and I'll say, great pick. You proved me wrong. And it's a good thing I didn't lose another $100 like I will against the New Orleans D-Bet. He is the only guy I am not big on. Now, if you want to say, Nick, why not? I'm not even going to tell you the stats that every fantasy analyst who is out on Jerry Jeudy. The problem I have with fantasy analysts is nobody's got the guts to put their balls on the table and defend a guy that everybody is out against. The 2 guys that everybody hated on this season, I think, from a draft standpoint, Antonio Gibson, who I still defend to this day, even before the Brian Robinson shooting. Pray that he's doing okay. Jerry Jeudy was the other one that fantasy analysts attacked. It's like, well, this guy's attacking him, so now I have to attack him. Now, one of those guys I defended, Antonio Gibson. The other one, I understand, but I'm going to tell you why I don't like him that all these other analysts aren't. And you, by the way, hit up Paul to trade Jerry Jeudy to him because you're not going to like this. So Jerry Jeudy, the stats that everybody is coming out and saying is, well, like when he got back healthy, he didn't do anything. He was god awful. And if anything, it sunk Cortland Sutton's value. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, when he was against the New York Giants, and it seems like I'm defending Jerry Jeudy, relax, I'm not yet. The week 1 game against New York Giants, they were using him in the slot with Teddy Bridgewater. Jeudy is a route technician like Amari Cooper, and shocker, they went to the same school. I don't know what they teach them there in Alabama. He's a route technician. He doesn't like contact, and if he's a great separator when you give him space. The first game against the Giants, the dude was converting 3rd down after 3rd down, and it looked like a breakout was happening, and then he hurt the ankle. He comes back. I think he should have sat out the whole rest of the year because he was awful. It seems like I'm defending him because he was hurt and now he's 100% healthy. But I liked him with Teddy Bridgewater because Teddy Bridgewater has a noodle arm and will check down and throw anything within the chain marks, which is what Jerry Jeudy was used for before he got hurt. Which is why I told Alan last year, Cortland Sutton with Teddy Bridgewater is not a match made in heaven. Now you bring in Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is going to favor the crap out of Cortland Sutton because he's going to be his DK Metcalf. And reports are reports. He loves him. Russell Wilson is also trying to, get KJ Hamler. I'm a KJ Hamler guy. Okay, so I am a little bit biased when I talk about KJ Hamler. I don't think, though, when Tim Patrick went down, I think it saved Judy's value just a little bit because now Judy has to start in outside two receiver sets. But like Amari Cooper, if you put your hands on Jerry Judy, he doesn't like contact. And the more and more I watch film, he plays scared. He plays very, very scared. Like when a defender is in his area, he is going to brace himself for contact and not try to make a play on the ball. The only time Jerry Judy looks great is if he's either wide open or separates tremendously. A lot of people want to use the cliche, oh, this is going to be the new Lockett. He'll play the Lockett role. I don't think he can play that role flat out. Tyler Lockett was good at what he did. The jury is still out on Judy. No pun intended. I don't like this pick, David. I think the minute he goes off, I'd sell him immediately. I just think it's Cortland Sutton by a mile and Jerry Judy. Like he still hasn't proved it. I'm out. I'm out on Judy. Ayuk is another big if scenario, but I like how you have him with Trey Lance. I think it's weird because like these deep threat guys, I like when they're stacked with a quarterback who's got a high floor. The Ayuk Trey Lance stack makes me like the pick. I don't know if I would have loved it if you didn't have Trey Lance because I don't know how many times Trey Lance is going to throw a game, first of all. But if he does connect, that is one of the beautiful feelings in the world. Because I think Trey Lance's floor, worst case scenario, his floor is like 17 points a week. If he can throw the ball well, now you're looking at a guy who can put up 30. And you've got the guy just to do it. I think a lot of people were out on Deebo Samuel this year, myself included. Ayuk, they've been raving about this guy. I know you got burned by Brandon Ayuk last year, and I could see it happening again maybe, but I'm actually in favor for you on this pick. All right, let's take a look at the starting roster. What do I give the starting roster? I think, especially with that Trey Lance, as of right now, I'm actually going to give it a B plus. This is the highest starting roster I've done. I've only recapped off of Allen, Paul, and Rob Coffey. Starting roster wise, I like it. B plus. If you had a different receiver other than Jerry Judy, probably would have gotten an A, to be honest. Bench: Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell. Okay, Miles Sanders was fuck it. It's late in the draft. I got to do it, and you cuffed him with Kenny Gainwell. But like, you're an Eagles fan. We know Boston Scott's going to have a role. Miles Sanders will not stay healthy, but if Miles Sanders plays a full season, I think he's an RB2. I don't think we'll ever get RB1 season from Miles Sanders. Kenny Gainwell, I think they love Boston Scott. They keep bringing him back every year. Tyler Boyd, he's on the Bengals, and you're hoping high-powered offense. No CJ Uzama. His target's got to go somewhere. I like the logic. Jalen Tolbert is a big wild card. He's a rookie. I think he was only getting hyped up because Michael Gallup wasn't there. Now Gallup is making his way back. I don't know how I feel. Like, the only thing is I don't think you're ever going out of your way to say, yo, I'm starting Jalen Tolbert this week. Y'all motherfuckers wish me luck. And you have Njoku on the bench. I think you can cut him. I like him, but like you got Goddard. I would just stream a guy when you have bye weeks. Indianapolis D. David, by the way, I saw something. I don't know if it was a typo on NFL.com. I was reading into something, and I saw that Darius Leonard is he Shaquille Leonard now? Like, I don't know what's going on with that. All right. Bench-wise, how do I feel about the bench? So, I think the bench is on like a C-plus range, and it's not. The reason why I'm saying that is because Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell are kind of a package deal. Like, you're only putting them in if you really need to start them. Tyler Boyd is a floor guy. Like, I want my bench with upside. I don't want floor. Dante Foreman, look, he was one of my favorite pickups of all time, and he had a great playoff run with me, so I can't hate on the man. It's amazing because I love this guy out of college, and then he was out of the league for 2 years, came back out of nowhere. It was a cool story. I have no idea if he's going to have value though if McCaffrey goes down. I think it's just going to be plug and play here. I know for a fact it's not Chuba carrying the reins because they bought in Amir Abdullah last year because he can't catch. So and like Foreman's not a guy who catches. So I'd be wary about that. I'm giving it a C plus. I think your starting roster is awesome. Bench, I don't see a lot of upside here though, to be honest. With that being said, if I average out a B plus to a C plus on the bench, I'm giving this team a solid B. I think the starting roster is tremendous. The favorite thing you did with your team is the Trey Lance to Brandon Ayuk stack, because I think Trey Lance alone is going to get there on his own. But if he connects with Brandon Ayuk, guess what? With those other deep threats, and you got a good floor with McCaffrey and Fournette. As of right now, I've only done 4 teams. I'm going in order. You have my favorite starting roster of the bunch so far. Although I think Andre's next, so that's probably going to change. And the bench, I think the bench doesn't have enough upside. So if this team is to make a playoff run, obviously the pick I hated was Jerry Jeudy. We're going to throw that there. If this team is to make a playoff run, I think the team's got to stay healthy. Bottom line is this: if you're telling me that this team stays 100% healthy, I'm going to book your ticket into the playoffs, kid. Good job. Well, I gotta say, man, this is the way you draft a team. When you go receiver early, this is the way you draft a team. You play the board, you take advantage of opportunities. The ultimate opportunist, Andre Jones. I'm not, dude, flat out. I'm not even gonna trip on this at all. There's nothing I need to go in depth with. I can't find a single pick I hate on this team at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at, dare I say it? Dare I say it? I love every single pick. This is the best team in the league. If you disagree, you're an idiot. I am not trying to do any reverse jinx crap. If I was drafting at that position, I would have done the exact same crap he did. Pick for pick, tit for tat. Bro, fantastic job. Even the bench, ladies and gentlemen. The bench is a starting lineup. The bench is a starting lineup. Dude, with massive amounts of upside. Andre Jones, okay? The Vegas odds are in. To win the championship, you are at minus 1,000, kid. Congratulations. Let's move along now. We've got Mr. Patrick Ryan. No relation to Matt Ryan, even though he is a Falcons fan. Well, I gotta say, man, you had some interesting picks. And I mean that in a good way. I think there was a lot of picks that shocked a lot of us in a good way. Let's get into it. Now I'm basing it off of roster construction. Joe Burrow, Mike Evans, Juju, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Dawson Knox, Rashad Penny, and DK Metcalf. Okay. Flat out, I'm just going to tell you right now, having multiple stocks in the Seattle offense is probably the only no-no, but I do like the guys individually. I don't know if I would have paired them up on the same team, though, if that makes any sense. Joey Burrow, like the pick. Joe Burrow ranked inside my top 5 quarterbacks, so I think he's going to have a massive year. Yet again, this is the guy who, in the playoffs, I know all about it because I had him, dropped 50 plus in 2 weeks in a row. Here we go, baby. Mike Evans and Juju Smith-Schuster. I like this combo a lot, Patrick. I really do. Mike Evans has a lot of upside. Okay, I know you don't know a lot about me, but when Juju was on the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was a huge Antonio Brown supporter. I had him almost every year, and I firmly, to this day, think that Juju Smith-Schuster was only good because Antonio Brown was drawing a lot of coverage, and Juju's best year was because defenses didn't care about him. They cared about Antonio Brown. Ever since Antonio Brown has left, Juju has been awful. But change of scenery is needed, and he's going to play a lot on the Kansas City offense. He is a guy I had ranked very, very highly. I like Juju. I like him. I like him. I like him. Derrick Henry to go with Ezekiel Elliott. Now, these guys could either finish as top 10 running backs or their age can catch up to them and they can go. So I'm surprised you forgave the King for his sins last year, but he's trying to make it up to you. Derrick Henry is a guy who could single-handedly win anybody a week. And, let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope that he is healthy. Zeke. So I am in the camp of, I like Tony Pollard a lot. I think Tony Pollard is a great running back. And I think it's only a matter of time until the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is the year. It's either now or never for Zeke. If Zeke doesn't look good, he's off the Dallas Cowboys. He's got a lot to prove. And I do think that without Amari Cooper there, they are going to have to lean on the run game a little bit. Now, it's funny because I think I wouldn't have taken Zeke in the second. Third, I would have considered. I actually would have taken Mike Evans in the second. But look, who cares, right? You're flipping these guys. Oh, I didn't give grades. I'm sorry. The receiver combo, I'm going to give a solid B plus, and the running back combo, I'm going to give an A minus because I think workload is can they capitalize on the workload? I don't know yet. Dawson Knox, okay. Johnny knows all about Dawson Knox. I think this is a good pick. Penny, I like Metcalf a lot. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him because they're like, yo, you're downgrading from, what's his name? You go from Russell Wilson to Drew Lock. It's a huge downgrade, or Geno Smith. Penny, I mean, he was awesome last year. He's never healthy, though. That's my big if. But look at this bench, kid. Dameon Pierce. If Penny gets hurt, just put in Dameon Pierce. You'll be good. Robert Woods, he's a boring veteran at this point, but technically he's operating as the Titans' #1 wide receiver. Romeo Doubs. He's all right. I don't know what's going to happen in Green Bay. Your guess is as good as mine. But out of any of the rookies, he is the best one. Alec Pierce. No, thank you. He looks good in plays, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Dearness Johnson is only good if Kareem Hunt gets traded because last year when both of them were hurt, Dearness did his thing. Tyler Higbee, oh boy, that guy last year. I remember him. The only reason why I didn't get pissed off at him was because I had Cooper Kupp on the same team. And you've got Titans D because you're streaming him against the Giants. Good stream option there, kiddo. And Tampa. So you're streaming and you're keeping a regular defense. The bench, I think other than Dameon Pierce, has upside. Everything else, Romeo Doubs does have upside though too. Romeo Doubs. Dameon Pierce got a lot of upside. Robert Woods, I think you can plug and play whenever you want. I don't know how effective he's going to be. So who knows? Patrick Leo. I like a lot of pieces on this team. My biggest concern is starting 2 Seahawks. They're not going to score a lot of points. I think you can start Penny. He's going to get hurt. I hate to say it, but I think you know that going into it. But that's the bottom line. I give this team, with bench and upside and roster construction, I'll give it a solid B minus. The one, the only, the Magic Man himself, Mr. B Magic, two-time championship runner-up. B Magic, you had some picks I liked a lot, and then some picks where I felt like it was a little too safe. So let's get into it. Let's talk B Magic. Derek Carr, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Najee Harris, Nick Chubb, Darren Waller, Adam Thielen, and Amari Cooper. All right, so when I look at this right now, I think that this lineup is more safe options with a little bit of upside sprinkled in. When I'm looking at the team starters, I'm not going on the bench yet, B Magic, just in case you're listening and following along. Starter wise, I think Michael Pittman and T. Higgins have upside to lead the league in receiving touchdowns. I said upside. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. Very big Michael Pittman supporter this year. I had him ranked as my wide receiver 8. As soon as I saw him fall and fall and fall, I was like keeping my fingers crossed. I knew it was too good to be true, though. I knew somebody was going to scoop him up. You did the right thing. I think he should have gotten a lot earlier, to be honest. T. Higgins, that was a great value. I was skeptical about T. Higgins in the early third because I think that's where he was going. But you got him in the mid fourth. Congratulations. That these guys, Pittman, I think can be an all-around wide receiver 1. I think he's gonna win with getting like 8 catches and no touchdowns, or he can catch a bomb and take it like 80 yards, bro. So I think upside wise, these guys could lead their teams in receiving touchdowns. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Okay, running back wise, Najee Harris is a volume hog. Every year, Pittsburgh drafts one running back. They treat him like he is the only running back on the team. That's what you like to see about Najee Harris. I just don't like the offensive line, but if the volume is what it was last year, this is a decent pick. Nick Chubb, I know you had Nick Chubb last year. I'm just concerned about when the Browns start trailing behind a lot because I know Chubb doesn't catch a lot of passes. I think one of the best pure runners in the National Football League is Nicholas Chubb. I don't know if I want him this year in fantasy, and that's nothing against him. It's just the Deshaun Watson situation, bringing in Jacoby Brissett. Chubb has a lot of he's got to carry the team because if he doesn't carry the team, man, it's going to be a long season for him. Tight end wise, you got Darren Waller. So the interesting thing about Darren Waller, I had him his breakout year. I don't know if you were in the league that year. No, you were not in the league that year. His first year, he was awesome. Second year was decent. Third year, decent. I am still under the impression though, and you have him to go with Carr, that's a cool stack. I like Derek Carr, by the way. I don't know if I touched on that. He's a good sleeper for quarterback. Darren Waller. They bring in Devontae Adams, and I just think that this target share on this team is just going to go all over the place. When it was just Darren Waller and no receivers, I knew that Waller was going to walk into 8 to 10 targets when he was healthy. But then Renfro had a really good season last year. And the issue that I have with both is when both are 100% healthy, they kind of cancel each other out. I think the only way that Darren Waller pays dividends this year is if he catches a lot of touchdowns because with Devontae Adams there and Hunter Renfro also in the mix, it's hard for me to say that Waller can hit over 1,000 yards. I think the way he pays off is by catching a lot of touchdowns. And he is a mismatch, so possibly. I know he's trying to get a deal inked up, though, because he's fired his agent. B Magic, I think these guys would have been great picks 3 years ago, and that's Adam Thielen and Amari Cooper. Now, ask Johnny. I have not been an Adam Thielen supporter even when he was good in the league. And now he's been on the decline. The only way he's fantasy relevant, dude, he didn't hit 700 yards last year. He caught a lot of touchdowns, which is hard to bank on. But what I'm saying is, if you ask Johnny, I haven't been the biggest Adam Thielen supporter. I just never liked him when he was like a second-round pick years and years ago. I have not been a big Adam Thielen supporter at all. Amari Cooper, I have been a supporter of Amari Cooper. However, this is where it comes in. I would have loved it more if it was Watson instead of Brissett catching the ball. I mean, I get it. It's Amari Cooper. So you're familiar with him and whatnot. The way I look at this roster and the way it's constructed, B Magic receivers, I'm going to give you a solid B plus. I can't give an A yet just because they have the upside potential. I don't know, like they're great. Like if I hate to do a Madden comparison, but if I was to rate these guys on Madden, I'd give T Higgins an 86 and Michael Pittman like an 88. But they could definitely take that next step this year. Running back wise, I'm also going to go. It's tough because if I gave Derrick Henry and Zeke Elliott an A minus, I think this is close to that, but I'm going to say a B plus on that as well. The stack Derek Carr to Darren Waller, it could definitely pan out. It's got that potential. I'm going to give it a solid B because I think Devontae Adams and Carr is obviously the better stack that you want, but like if you wanted to settle for the stack with Derek Carr and Darren Waller, go for it, bro. Thielen and Amari Cooper, I'm gonna flat out just tell you right now, I am not. They can wind up with volume more so Cooper than Adam Thielen. I hate relying on guys who just get touchdowns though, so I'm gonna have to give a C plus for that. But we're not done. We're not done, B Magic. We're going to the bench. How do I rate the bench? I'm looking for upside. If it's just floor, I don't want anything to do with this bench. We'll take a look. Cordell Patterson is interesting because last year, man, he was a cheat code for a while, and then he fell off towards the end. I don't know how they're going to utilize him. If I'm the Atlanta Falcons, dude, give him wide receiver eligibility. Drake London and Kyle Pitts can't be the only two guys who catch passes on this team. Be creative like you were last year with the guy. By default, he still, though, might be their best option at running back, which kind of stinks if you want him to catch a lot of passes as a receiver. Treylon Burks. I love this Big B Magic. This is the upside we're talking about. You swung for the fences here. This is probably one of my favorite picks that you made. If this guy was healthy in the off season and we had positive reports, I have no doubt in my mind he would have been a 6th-round pick. And you took the dip of price on that. Treylon Burks will take over as the wide receiver 1 for this team, and it's not even close. Robert Woods, okay, but look, here's the problem. If the Titans are competitive, they're going to keep building around Robert Woods. Eventually, they're going to say, "Yo, this kid is light years ahead of fucking Bobby Woods, Bobby Trees." Alexander Madison just got posted on the trade block in real life NFL. So, with that being said, I don't think this guy's going to have any value this year. He's only good when Cook gets hurt. So you need Cook to get hurt. Julio Jones, I mean, he's past his age apex. I'm sorry. Look, if he's Brady's new Rob Gronkowski, that's awesome. But like, I would be very nervous to put Julio Jones in my starting roster. Chuba Hubbard, I had this guy last year. I was hyped for him. He didn't exactly pan out because they started mixing in other backs, and I don't see any reason why they would run away from that. Sammy Watkins, look. We don't know who the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay is. And I think taking a chance, even though he's a little bit older, but Rodgers does better with older veteran receivers. I like this pick a lot too. And Hayden Hurst, I've never been a Hayden Hurst guy, so I can't tell you that I like this pick. To be honest. It's amazing that this guy was a 1st-round pick, by the way, now that I'm thinking about that. Because he's now on his 3rd team. Because I know the Falcons gave him a contract. Yeah, I think it's his 3rd team in like 4 years or something crazy like that. Well, B Magic, as far as the bench is concerned, I'm going to give you a B. Burks has the upside. Patterson's a huge wild card. If he gets used all over the field, this guy is going to be in your roster every week. Madison is an RB1 if what the hell's his name? Crap, I can't even think of it. Dalvin Cook, thank you. If Dalvin Cook gets hurt. And Watkins is the other wild card here. Let's recap. My favorite picks from B Magic, Michael Pittman by far is he might even go down as okay. So spoiler alert: when I do favorite pick in the 3rd round, he's going to be that guy because I think you got tremendous value on that. The picks that I don't like, I think you could have waited on, but you have the stack going. I don't want to hate on Darren Waller too much. But you got The pick that I don't like, look, I'm on brand here. I hate Adam Thielen. And I've always, this isn't anything against you. I've never been an Adam Thielen guy. When he was producing, I thought he was always overpriced. And now I just think that he's relying too much on touchdowns. B Magic, I give this team, because there are some concerns in the flex. I'm not going to lie to you. But you got some guys on the bench can take over, but it's a big if. I'm going to give it a B minus. Alexander Matika, you had the number 8 pick. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, it already started out good. Spoiler alert, best pick of the first round. I was shocked he fell so far, which is why I flat out had to say, hey, yo, do you want to trade? You did think about it. You thought about it, though. Don't even say like you would never done it, but you made the right decision because if you didn't do it, the last thing I wanted was who was picking after you? Well, Harsh traded out of that round, so I think it was Krier or Johnny. It was Johnny. Oh, did not want that happening. Look, Austin Eckler by far, I mean, the best pick in the first round. That guy, that guy was the RB3 for me, and you got him as the 8th pick overall. Well done, sir. Easily my favorite pick of the draft. Easily my favorite pick of the draft. First round, at least. Well, Matika, you got some interesting players on this team. Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Austin Eckler, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, George Kittle, Devin Singletary, and Jacoby Myers. Okay, let's get into it. Josh Allen, elite talent. You're going to have the quarterback one. Let's move on. CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown. So I like this combination a lot. You have a guy who's going to lead. He has CeeDee Lamb, that is, essentially lead the league in catches. Pair that up with an explosive guy like AJ Brown. I give this receiver combination an A. I love the way it's set up because you have a guy who's going to get a lot of catches, going to get a lot of looks, and pair that up with a guy who is a beast. It's funny because I know we're going to joke about this, but you told me that you hacked in the Harsh's rankings. And it's funny because Harsh had CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown as his wide receiver 1 and 2 last year. Hilarious that works out. Austin Eckler and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, Eckler is great. Great pick. He is an absolute stud. I'm beating myself up that I don't have Austin Eckler on any of my teams, man. I thought it was going to happen. Obviously, that was too good to be true. That's all right. That's all right. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, we got to talk about. You made the statement. You said post-hype sleeper. Look, I think the whole Isaiah Pacheco nonsense was to kind of motivate him. I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is a real-life NFL running back, to be honest. I think he's a made-up character. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, on the other hand, like he has to win the job this year or he's out of a job in the National Football League. I know this guy has, when he first came into the league, he was a first-round pick. The fantasy world went crazy for him. It's been all downhill since. I do think he's going to get the opportunity to lead the Chiefs backfield early on. But if this guy can't stay healthy, just like Miles Sanders, it's a shame. They are going to find themselves on another team in 2023. That brings us up to George Kittle. So I never draft George Kittle just because I think he never plays a full 16. He's hurt every year. Great talent, but I don't think for a tight end it's worth that position. But he is good if he's healthy. Devin Singletary was a great pick. I know that they bought in James Cook, and Zach Moss is getting a lot of buzz in the preseason. But in my personal opinion, I do think the coaches aren't going to ignore what they had in Devin Singletary, especially last year, man. Whenever he was given a workload, the guy's been solid. I think James Cook is going to come in there on passing downs, and Zach Moss might get like 3 carries a game. Like, I don't think Zach Moss is taking over this guy's spot in the rotation. I love Singletary. I don't like Jacoby Myers. I think he's very safe. Like, he's 8 to maybe 10 points a week. I don't want anything to do with the New England offense this year. Maybe the running backs, that's a different story. Um, I think running back position, I'm going to give you a B. Flexes, I'm giving you a C, though. I think Singletary, like, I don't like Myers. Singletary, I like. I like Singletary a lot. But I do think, other than CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown, the receivers are very weak on this team, and I think they're going to be making for a trade. I'd rather have a stronger receiver than Jacoby Myers. In fact, you might have one in Chase Claypool. So I took Pickens over Claypool because I don't think Chase Claypool is that great of a wide receiver. George Pickens, I think, is a more complete receiver. Look, I might just be drinking the Kool-Aid of the preseason by all means, but I love me some George Pickens. Chase Claypool, if he's going to play the slot this year, he could wind up with a lot of catches, though, which is weird. But I think a lot of teams are putting the tallest receivers now in the slot. Raheem Mostert, I mean, the guy never stays healthy to begin with, but he is familiar in that system. Ronald Jones is probably going to get cut. Matt Breida, only if what's-his-face gets hurt. A pick that I didn't like, that unfortunately, due to the Brian Robinson news, looks like a good pick now, is J.D. McKissic. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is that Antonio Gibson is actually a great pick now, and McKissic is going to have a role again. This guy could be sneaky good yet again. Mike Gesicki, not big on that pick. Devin Duvernay, he's projected a lot of points. I think it's because he's on return yards, but like I don't see this guy. I don't see him doing anything. And you got Jamison Williams as a flyer, and you got the Bills defense. Matika, I got to rate this team. I think Eckler is a boss. Josh Allen is a boss. I think this is the second year you've had Josh Allen. Second year in the 3 years that you've been in the league. I believe that's a fact. So you have, I like Allen, I like Lamb, I like Brown, I like Eckler, but everything else over that, like all those picks that you made, I give you A pluses. Everything else though is big if statements. The way you make the playoffs is if Clyde Edwards-Helaire overtakes this backfield and becomes the running back that they drafted him to be. It's a big if. Devin Singletary, can he hold off the other guys? He's been able to hold off Zach Moss. This James Cook signing, though, like, how long is that going to be a factor? That's my biggest concern. Did I get to Jacoby Myers? No, oh, no. But, like, I don't like Myers. And the other big if is George Kittle. So there's a big if statements with your team. By the way, I can't rip you on the Ravens stack. You don't have any Ravens, but I'm going to call it like I see it. I am going to give this team, as of right now, I think the biggest weak point here is the flex department. I think that Singletary, I think, will eventually pan out. I can't say the same about Jacoby Myers. And the bench, I don't know if I graded your bench. Sometimes I lose my train of thought. Bench-wise, Claypool is good. Not big on Mostert. McKissic is interesting, though, now. I think the bench, I'm going to give you, like, a solid, like, C. Because I know, like, Mostert, I think if Edmonds gets hurt, he'll probably get some work in and this, that, the other. I think like I said, top half of your roster looks awesome. And then the bottom half, there's big if statements. I am going to give this, though, between a C plus and a B minus. I can't make up my mind yet, but it's around that range. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 years ago, he was the champion. From first to worst, can he bounce back this year? The vintage one. Vintage Harsh. So he traded out of the first round, and you're happy about that because Chase went at number 2 overall. Wow. I have no idea who you would have gone, though, if you had kept that pick. I am a little bit intrigued. My guess is DeAndre Swift, so you kind of helped me out on that part. So thank you, my friend. Well, we had another interesting draft. A lot of value fell to you in this draft. Like, I mean, usually when conducting a vintage Harsh team, it is one of my favorite teams to go ahead and dissect. He comes from the dick riding a hype school that I have attended. David isn't as aggressive, and I thought Allen was part of our school, Harsh, but I guess he had other plans this year. So I guess it's just me and you, buddy. All right, let's ride Broncos country. Let's take a look at how this roster is constructed. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. Russell Wilson, Brandon Cooks, Cortland Sutton, Tony Pollard, Cam Akers, Kyle Pitts, Javonte Williams. Why you got to put him in the flex, dude? Antonio Gibson is the starting roster, and then I'll take a look at the bench later on. Okay, Russell Wilson, will he have a bounce back year? Absolutely. So, quarterback wise, I think he's going to have a really great year. And oh, how fitting. Monday night, he goes back to the Hawks Nest in Seattle. You can't make up these stories, ladies and gentlemen. Brandon Cooks and Cortland Sutton. How do I feel about this combo? The Cortland Sutton, the Russ to Sutton stack, absolutely great. But you know what? It could have been better? The Albert Akui Boonham to go with that, Harsh. Anyway, Brandon Cooks. He's a floor guy at this point. I think it's I'm looking at the Yahoo thing. They have him projected for 92 catches, which is a lot, and over 1,000 yards. If I look at his numbers last year, it's almost what he did last year. So can he repeat those numbers with Davis Mills? Probably. I never want the boring veteran guys, though. Like, that's what, to me, he is at this point. Cortland Sutton, baby. They have him at 75 catches and over 1,000 yards. I'm more bullish than that. Come on. Sutton, I think 89 catches, I'll say, and 10 touchdown potential. He is going to finish as a top 10 wide receiver. Love that pick. Brandon Cooks and Cortland Sutton. Well, you got one guy who's going to get a lot of catches, and I think the other guy's got a lot of touchdown upside. I'm going to give this combination, believe it or not, I'm going to give it a solid B. Because I don't think Brandon Cooks wins you any leagues, but I think he stabilizes everything. Tony Pollard and Cam Akers. Oh, we're going back to the vintage Harsh. You like to play dicey with these running backs. I love it. Tony Pollard was a great pick. Had I have not gone Aaron Jones, full disclosure, had I have not gone Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard was going to be the first backup running back I was going to pull up the board in the 6th round. Well, I like that pick a lot. I do not like Cam Akers. And this is it. Look, I've been a Cam Akers guy since he was in Florida State, and he was amazing with the worst offensive line in college football history, pretty much. Harsh, I hate to say this, and I hope I'm wrong. But I think they should have kept him out all last year. I do think that he's got health concerns yet again. And unfortunately, Harsh, I think this guy's career might be cut short because of injury. I hope I'm wrong because I am a Cam Akers believer, but this is a pick. The only way I would have liked this pick is if you went Darrell Henderson. I know cuffing is a thing of the past, but there are guys, aka Cam Akers, that need to be handcuffed at immediately. My favorite pick of the draft by you was Kyle Pitts. I rolled the dice. I really thought you were on Mike Williams, and I said to myself, will Kyle Pitts come back to me? But I almost went Kyle Pitts in the 2nd round. I gambled. I picked the wrong guy. I don't know if you were going to go Mike Williams or not. You told me I had no interest in Mike Williams. Fuck. So, yeah, that really put a damper on my team. Ouch. I like that pick a lot. Javonte Williams and Antonio Gibson are your flexes. Well, now with the Brian Robinson news, Hope that he's doing okay. Antonio Gibson is officially a league winner. Please trade him to me. Javonte Williams. I like the pick, but roster construction wise, and it's funny because you said this too. I don't like Wilson, Sutton, and Williams. If all those guys hit, you would need Russell Wilson to get 30 points. You would need Cortland Sutton to get 15 and above, and you would also need Javonte Williams to get 15 and above. That's asking a lot every week. I think what'll happen is I like all these players. I don't know if it flows with the roster. Now, it's funny. It is absolutely funny because the last time this happened that I was when a team had drafted the starting running back, the starting receiver, and the starting quarterback, it was Paul when he had Russell Wilson and he had DK Metcalf and Chris Carson, and I said this will never work, and it worked until Chris Carson got hurt. So I've been wrong before because I said Chris Carson does not catch a lot of passes, and he did. Javonte Williams certainly could be a full guy, like to do whatever. But I'm looking at everything else. So I'm viewing your running backs. If Akers goes down, it doesn't cost you, which is why I'm going to go to the bench. Michael Davis. I mean, look, dude, you need to chill out with these Ravens running backs, bro. Mike Davis, J.K. Dobbins obviously has the most upside. Your best bet, Harsh, now with the Brian Robinson news, you can afford to start Antonio Gibson in your starting lineup. You need Dobbins out until October. Do not rush him. Mike Davis, just cut him. Nicole Hardman, I liked him. We had this conversation, I think, but I only like him if he's on return yards. I think the return yards give him a good floor because I don't trust him as an NFL prospect to do what Tyreek Hill did on a daily basis. He could. I don't know if it'll happen. I know you're a James Robinson guy. I don't like it. Khalil Herbert, I do like a lot as a prospect. He is awesome. I think the Bears though have taken a big step back. Like they were bad last year, but man, oh man, it's hard for me to get excited about Khalil Herbert on Bears offense. Isaiah Pacheco, I just think is Darwin Thompson 2.0. KJ Osborne, if it was up to me and I don't coach the Vikings, I'd have him start over Adam Thielen immediately. Gus Edwards on the IR and Austin Hooper. Interesting that you drafted 2 tight ends when you clearly have the tight end 1 this year. Well, Harsh, your starting roster. I don't hate any of these guys at all. Akers just because of health. You're really low on your projections. You don't have a defense. Okay, so you're going to cut Austin Hooper for a defense probably is what's going to happen. Harsh, my favorite pick from your draft, as much as I want to say Kyle Pitts because he is going to be the tight end 1, I think you could definitely book that in. It's Antonio Gibson. I was not trying to bullshit. What I said was real in the car. You need to tell me that this guy was going in the 4th. I would have been nervous to take him in the 4th. But you're telling me that a guy has the athleticism to be an RB1 in the NFL, and now he drops into the 8th round. You're taking him where all the handcuffs are going. Yeah, I'll take the guy. Granted, he's on a short leash. Obviously, with the Brian Robinson news, everybody's going to love him even more. Sorry, I exit out of your team for a second. Well, the bench has B plus potential. But when I mean that's if J.K. Dobbins is back in the National Football League this year playing football. If he's not, that B plus goes down to like a C plus. He is the X factor if this guy comes back healthy. Harsh, you took the 2 riskiest running backs that nobody wanted due to health concerns, and that's Dobbins and Akers. Dobbins, I'm a little bit more optimistic because the Ravens training staff has kept him out to get his reps healthy. Enough for the football season is what I'm trying to say. The Rams they're going to ruin Cam Akers' career. I hope I'm wrong, but it's not looking too good, buddy. Did I elaborate on enough? Okay. Bottom line is my report card to the vintage one. This is going to So the highest grade so far that I've done all these teams, I'm going in order. You are the ninth team that I'm evaluating. Highest grade was Andre A plus. I think you have the second best grade at an A. And please, God Almighty, give me Antonio Gibson. Next team I'm going to grade on. Okay. The man who picked in front of me in the draft, and I got to say, you made some really, really good picks. Out of any of the teams that drafted David Krier, I think you soaked up the most value. I think a lot of guys fell to where I didn't expect them to fall nearly that far. Literally, I think your whole team, at least the starters, were all value based picks. Justin Herbert, I think, was a value based pick. Um, and I mean, he's got potential to be the number one quarterback. So I think he's a good value pick where you got him. Stephon Diggs could still finish as the wide receiver one this year. It was between Aaron Jones and Stephon Diggs. I went Aaron Jones just for the running back security, and you went Diggs. Deontay Johnson, to me, I think that was the most value. I didn't want him at the 3-4 wrap. You got him at the fifth, though, dude. That is a steal. You pretty much essentially took him from where he was last year. James Conner, I honestly do think is a good value pick as well. Conner was the last running back I had, and I didn't think he was going to fall all the way to me in the third round, which is why I went Aaron Jones. He was the only other running back I wanted as an RB2, and you made another good pick. That was a value pick. Mark Andrews, I think, was another value pick because that was your fourth round pick. Mark Andrews, in a lot of drafts that I've been watching, has been going in the second round. So congratulations on that. Damian Harris, I know, was falling in drafts. I don't know if it's a value because it might be a timeshare, but this guy did score 15 touchdowns last year. And Hunter Renfro in your flex spot. So let me break down the roster construction as far as grading with your report. Quarterback, you get an A plus. I do think that if other than Josh Allen, obviously, I think the three quarterbacks that have absolute great potential to finish as number one. I mean, if you don't want to throw Mahomes, I think Herbert has potential to be the number one quarterback. I also think Jalen Hurts is another guy who has potential to get the number one quarterback spot. And I mean, this isn't even a dark horse because everybody says it, but Trey Lance. All right, since I am not going to narcissistically talk about my own team, I'm just going to go right to the last team that had the pick of the draft. Johnny Ahern. Johnny J. Fresh Ahern. How we doing, my man? So your situation's a lot different than everybody else because you had essentially 3 first-round picks. I called it. I knew exactly what you were going with all those 3 picks. Look, you can call full disclosure all you want. I think you tried to shop the pick after you traded with Harsh because you were worried about what might fall to you. Because when you reached out for me, it wouldn't make any sense for me to trade up to that pick unless you were really trying to. I called your bluff. I knew you weren't going to go DeAndre Swift, so I banked on that from falling. 3 running backs, I called all of them. The only one I didn't call was Cook. I didn't think Cook was going to fall to you. I had you going Mixon was the other one. But you went the other 2 I knew you were going to get. Cook, Barkley, and Kamara. So, yes, these guys can finish top 5 at their position any single season, and you have top 5 potential. Now, in order for this to work, because you went 3 running backs, you needed to hit on receiver later on because you're not picking in the 3rd and the 4th round. B, you needed a good quarterback to go with this. I don't think this strategy works if you do not get a top tier quarterback. And the other thing, you didn't need to do it, but you did, which is better. I know you went Schultz has potential. I'm not a Schultz guy though. Let's talk about it. So bottom line here is your running backs are set. You really had to hit on receiver. You needed a elite quarterback, and the extra free space bonus guy is Dalton Schultz. I'm going to be flat out honest with you right now. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. When the draft happened and not looking at roster construction, I absolutely did not like the way it turned out. But when you have a guy like Barkley, Kamara, and Dalvin Cook, those guys, they could get you 20 plus any week, and there's not a lot of running backs that can do that, let alone you have 3 that can do that. I think the teams that have drafted 2 running backs to start, I think they're very floory. I don't know if they have the 20-point outbursts like they do. So let's talk about the way it's constructed. You went out and got Lamar Jackson. I think this was the best pick you made to go with this strategy. Now, to me, I picked around you. It was either Hurts or Lamar Jackson. I really like Jalen Hurts, so I went that route. Lamar, I think, is going to be just fine, though. Your receivers, this is going to be, I think, all season long, the only thing you should be doing, unless you trade away one of those elite running backs, the only thing you should be managing on the waiver wire is receiver because you're absolutely set at running back. Darnell Mooney and Michael Thomas. Well, let's talk about it. Absolutely hate Michael Thomas. I just think, look, you know me, Johnny. You know how I talk about this crap. Any receiver who's close to the age 30, I'm completely out on every single year just because father time might just creep up on you. Not to mention the fact that this guy has not played a full season in 2 years. Not to mention the fact he has never caught a pass in a regular season from Jameis Winston. Not to mention the fact that he is going from being a top tier receiver in this league to getting all the checkdowns from Drew Brees to who knows what his role is going to be with Jameis Winston because it's not even Sean Payton anymore. So I have no idea how they're going to utilize the talent. He is the riskiest pick in the draft, and I think it's more risk than reward. I do not like that pick. Darnell Mooney, it's a guy on a bad offense, but he's going to get a crap ton of volume, which might translate into wide receiver 1 numbers. So if you look at Matt Harmon has him projected very generously. I think this is a very generous projection. 92 catches is a lot. You're essentially getting Deontay Johnson on the Bears is pretty much what that is. Mooney has always been an intriguing prospect ever since his rookie year, but he was playing behind Allen Robinson, and there was another scrub that they kept using. I don't remember who it was. But Mooney is an interesting person. I think with target alone, this was a good pick. Again, the thing that I anticipated at that 5-6 wrap the receivers were going to thin out, and they did, and I think that's why you were left with Michael Thomas and Darnell Mooney. Full disclosure, I am very shocked you didn't go Hopkins. That was just me, though. I thought for sure Hopkins was going to be the guy. Okay, so the receivers, Michael Thomas and Darnell Mooney. I'm grading it on the side of caution because I don't like Michael Thomas. I'm going to give you a C plus. I I would not be. I think there. I'd be more shocked that Michael Thomas finished out the season than Michael Thomas just saying, "Hey, I'm done with football and walking out." Running backs, Dalvin Cook, Barkley. Okay, A plus 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 plus. Let's move on. Tight end. The thing that I thought was interesting was you didn't necessarily. I think if you had an elite quarterback, you didn't need to get a hype tight end. Dalton Schultz, I think I talked to you on the phone, is not a very good football player, but he might like have some volume. So essentially, he's like a receiver too, getting a lot of volume. And it's Dak throwing him the ball, so fine. Alvin Kamara, great pick. Alan Lazard, I think, is your X factor here. I'm already banking on the fact that Michael Thomas is either A, not going to do anything this year, or he retires this year. I don't know about any of that. I just don't like him. Lazard, I think, is the first guy to be Aaron Rodgers' wide receiver number one. The rookies, I think, are going to take a lot of time to develop. Even Romeo Dubs, who everybody loves. Lazard's been with him before. He's had some good games when Adams has been out. If you remember that New Orleans game 2 years ago, and then Lazard got hurt, which kind of sucked. By the way, Alan Lazard looks like Travis Galarza. I don't know if you've realized that. So, um, and the flex, I like Alan Lazard. This is a pick. I'm trying to fight it. I actually like it a lot. Um, I like it for the way your team was built. I think you had to go with guys who are projected to be number one wide receivers. So when I look at it, the running backs on this team are an A plus. Tight end, I'm going to give you a B. I cannot say B plus. I think the last tight end that would give a B plus grade, I think, would be Waller. I would take Waller over Schultz any day of the week. Um, Quarterback is an A plus. Receiver, though, I'm going to give you a C plus because now let's just say that Michael Thomas either busts or doesn't do anything because he's already got a hamstring injury too. I didn't even mention that fact. What do you have on your bench? Well, you're cuffing him with Jarvis Landry. I had told you back in June, wherever we went to CBs or early July, I don't remember what it was, but Landry was a guy I was very intrigued by because I do think that this is by default, it might be the best offense he's ever been a part of, passing wise, if that makes sense. And he might be a boring veteran that shocks the world yet again. DJ Chark had a lot of buzz in June and July, and then it looks like it seemed to come down a little bit. My thing with DJ Chark, with your strategy, before Jamison Williams comes back, he could be operating as the outside guy on their team. Look, Paul, myself, and Harsh have been the only DJ Chark believers. I still think he runs routes like a wide receiver one. I actually like this pick. Christian Watson, I don't know what's going to go on there. You might cut him. Pat Fryermuth, I don't think you needed, when you had Schultz, I don't think you needed to waste a pick on a tight end. So this is what's really interesting because I like what you did in the pickup department. I actually like Dontrell Hilliard a lot. I almost cut a guy to get Dontrell Hilliard. You beat me to it, so I like that pick. Jalen Warren. He is officially the Pittsburgh. He got a lot of buzz early in the preseason. He is the Pittsburgh running back number 2, but I think not as. And I don't like Najee Harris, but Najee Harris is actually a talented running back on a crap offensive line. I don't know if we can confidently say Jalen Warren will come in there. If anything, Jalen Warren might be in a situation like Khalil Herbert. He's a guy that everybody's excited about, and we know he's going to get the workload once the other guy in front of him gets hurt. But at the end of the day, he's a backup running back who might get volume on a really bad offensive line. I'm flat out going to tell you, Trey Sermon. If I'll be shocked if he stays on your team within a week. Um, my thing about Trey Sermon, look, I drafted the idiot last year and I kept him for a while until I said it's time to say goodbye. John Lynch is the only reason why he's still rostered is because John Lynch traded up in the third round to get him 2 years ago. Kyle Shanahan said, look, that's not what I run. The type of system he did at Ohio State, not at all at what I like to do over here, which is why Elijah Mitchell came out of nowhere. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are saying what the media wants to hear, but come game day, okay, we just saw that they cut JaMychal Hasty. I think that they're only going to dress 3 running backs because they have Tyrion Davis-Price, Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, and Trey Sermon. Either Sermon or Tyrion Davis-Price will not dress up, flat out. That's just the way I think it has to happen because I do think that Jeff Wilson is slowly becoming the third down guy, and he's the only guy that Kyle Shanahan trusts. Um, so yeah, a guy that I do like on your pup list though is Michael Gallup. I think Michael Gallup is kind of like your emergency lifeline if any of those receivers that you drafted bust, like a Lazard or Thomas. The one guy I don't see being tampered with in your lineup is Mooney. I think Mooney is going to be safe. So let me talk about the bench really quickly. Oh, Ravens D, I think, is just streamable. I know they're against the Jets. I will not trust this defense, though, if my life depended on it the whole season. Dontrell Hilliard. I like Hilliard. Your favorite bench guys that Chark, Landry, and Hilliard, I think, are interesting. But other than that, you can miss. Oh, and Gallup on the bench. I'll give you your bench of B minus. Hilliard, I do think, is the running back 2 in Tennessee. He's a guy that, believe it or not, was on my watch list for a while. If I did not get a Benjamin, he would have probably been my next running back I would have taken. So I can't even hate on that pick. The other thing that's interesting about Hilliard is return yards, bitch. As long as Derrick Henry is the starter, he's going to get return yards. I actually do think that they are going to utilize him on third downs. Dontrell Hilliard, when you look at the box score on your bench, you're going to say, how the fuck did he get 10 points on my bench as a backup? And I got to be honest, I think that's what's going to happen. And if he gets the starting gig, I think he can run away with that job, to be honest. The rookie doesn't scare me at all with him. So B minus with an overall grade of your team, I think is a B plus. You really needed to take an elite quarterback, and you did. Receivers, though, I'm trusting. I know I'm trusting your management here. The only thing you should be spending your money on is a receiver. If you're spending on any of these running backs, like backups, because you've already got 3 backup, I'd say 2 are lottery tickets. Trey Sermon is going to get cut. You're managing it wrong. Your money has to go to receivers only. So that's the way I feel about that team.